Okay, we're ready.
Okay, continuing the negotiations for healthcare for the 2020-2021 year, a joint meeting with CWA and IRCEA with the School District of Indian River County. In our last episode, we received your counter proposal to our last proposal, and we did analyze that, and we noticed a couple things. We noticed that it decreased the total premium slightly from a percentage standpoint, so it took it from 6.5 to 5.9, okay? We were a little concerned about that because we want to make sure we're not kicking the can down the road. In these times where we're here in the twilight zone with our coronavirus and the present, national impact and stuff, we don't want to get in a situation where we're kicking the can down the road and making things worse in the future that is, quite uncertain as we move forward. Your proposal also has the district paying an additional $100,000, okay? And we also noticed that it shifts the burden to single coverage individuals. So, for 980 out of the 1,600 enrollees, and that's a kind of a 60-40 split, those individuals are taking more from a percentage burden than the other tiers. So that's just an observation. It also had a 9.2% board increase contribution. So going from the 590, going from the 540 to the 595, that's a big change for us. But yet it held it at a 1% employee increase. Okay, but that increase, because of the math that presented where active employees are paying zero, that burden goes on to the retirees. So that's what gives the active employee group a 0% increase in premium. So our concerns were those things and the fact of making sure that we're being fiscally responsible with that premium amount. Okay, so we did come up with a counter proposal, and I'm hoping that we're right there in the middle. I'd like to send that to you, and Dr. Suit, Ron was going to send that. Could you put that on the screen for us? Just want to make sure. Oh.
Can we speak to your comments before we move on to your proposal?
Yes, sir. Did you want to start?
Yeah, I would. In designing this proposal, we looked at what was presented in the 4/16/20 special meeting. Okay, and the premium increase that was suggested or required in that meeting was $19,475,000. The premium increase generated by this proposal comes to $19,433,592, which is slightly less than the other proposal, or the amount suggested in that. So how that ends up being a lower percentage, or why, or whether or not the 6.5% was the accurate in the original proposal is largely irrelevant. We're producing the same amount of money as the or very close to it, and it would require a very small adjustment to make those numbers match. That's one issue. The other issue is we're not switching anything to the retirees. The retiree amounts that are on this proposal are the amounts that were on your original proposal. We just left them the way they were. So we're not shifting money anywhere. What we are doing is making sure that everybody in the bargaining units, and also hopefully in the rest of the school system who takes insurance, pays a little bit more as well. And that's why the single payers now have to pay, the single employees have to pay a little bit more.
I have a quick
That's all I
question.
wanted to say.
I just want to clarify, our proposal did not alter the post 65 retirees. We didn't
Yeah,
make
that's
any
what I just
adjustments.
said.
And yeah, the pre 65 retirees, yes, because the pre 65 retirees, their total premium rates are supposed to be the exact same as the actives.
The difference is though that the active employee group gets a board contribution.
So,
Just an observation.
and then the question I had is, when we ran these numbers, the county's final that day was 590, not 540.
No, I bet she's talking about the 590 was your last proposal.
Last
And
time,
we
yes.
did, so that's
But
where
Paul's
we
referring
came
to-
from this. And again, we've come down from our original proposal, we've come down by $65. Our original proposal was bringing us equal with the current employee-only board contribution of the Indian River County. And that was where that all stemmed from, because that is second largest employer in the county, or it might be third, this hospital, regardless. But that's basically who, in some cases, we are compared against when it comes to insurance.
Okay. Other
So-
comments before we proceed? Ron? Any comments? Dr. Moore?
You're doing a smash-up job.
Okay, so, can we get our proposal up there, Edwina? Is there a way?
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, sure.
Blow it up.
That's as big as it'll, hold on, let me see if I can make it bigger.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
And could you also email it to
Paul?
us?
Yeah, I don't have it yet. I'd like to have it in front of me before you start talking about it.
Should be on your screen.
It's small on the screen.
Oh,
That's
you can't-
the challenge too.
At home, it's tiny.
Maybe when I get my new contacts, I can see that.
Ron, send it.
Hold on.
That a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Ron,
If you could just reply all to that,
There you
this
go.
way I can get it too.
there you go. Okay.
Okay, I still don't have it, but I can see it well enough on the screen now.
Okay, we're working on getting it emailed to you.
Yeah, it's,
Okay. All right, so just to kind of, make it quick and easy to understand, our proposal is that the board contribution remain at 590, and that each employee in every tier has a increase of $10 per month, which is $5 per pay.
And that the premium increases by 60 as opposed to.
Yes, so the premium increase instead of 55 is 60.
I think I understand it.
One thing I do also want to reiterate, I believe I've said it at prior meetings. We did definitely demonstrate that Aon's projection from last year was in fact ultra conservative. Rather than going up by, it was 6.5% last year, it went up. The same period of time went up 4%. Paul,
If you
can
could-
you mute
yeah.
for a second? Because that echoing here is. So while I want them to be conservative in their predictions, I really do. We are at a position with a $5 million fund balance in our insurance, that we have the leeway to take a slightly bigger risk. We are all in agreement that it does need to increase. That part, absolutely. It is just the assumption, the level of increase that I feel. You know, I think they're spot on about their predictions for the claims. The fixed costs are the part that I question. The fixed costs did not increase last year by nearly as much as they had projected.
Without due respect, I might challenge you to think about the concept that we're in a year of a coronavirus that has impacted the healthcare system significantly. And I would suggest that we be very conservative before we make presumptions that things will continue to go down at this juncture. That's the only remark I have in counter to what you're saying, but I totally hear what you're saying. The trouble with actuaries is they have this habit of being quite spot on frequently. Aon's been pretty darn close to the number for us several years in a row. Amy or Mary D, you could probably speak to that a little more. I believe one year they came in, what, 10,000 off, and that was it?
So you want me to address it?
Yes, please.
I think the easiest answer across the board is to refer to the history. And I believe that you'll find the history on.
I think that's very easy to say, but we'd have to request and be shown a lot of information in order to verify that. I have a question, however, and my question is simply this: what are the real numbers here? Okay, was the number that was used on the 4/16/20 meeting, okay, for the size of the unit? Yeah, I'm noticing on the new proposal that you just passed that now our unit size is 1,813. That's not what it was on the meeting at the meeting on April 16th. Okay. I also noticed that the number $19,535,352 is greater than the amount used at that meeting. Which is the real number? Okay, we're using different baseline assumptions here than from proposal to proposal, and frankly, that's a little disingenuous. Let's put it that way.
Mary, did you hear that question?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Changes in the numbers is one was marked.
Okay, the difference in the numbers is one was March and one was February. So apparently that's the difference.
So just for clarity's sake, to ensure that there's no switch in bait here, I don't know if it's Ron, can we give a higher level of clarity regarding numbers that we're using and why we're using them to ensure that we're all on the same page? I don't see any of those numbers that we just read off though. But this is not really.
The numbers that he's talking is on the bottom of that.
Oh, I can't,
Yeah.
it's cut off.
Yeah.
I can't, okay.
Do you want a copy? I can look at this.
Yes.
No, probably is,
I have-
unless it's blown up, I can't see.
I know, same way.
You want to borrow my glasses? I can.
I know, right?
Mhm. Keep going.
All right, Rob. Here, it's like, and I'll sit down.
Paul,
That
next name.
Just use your teacher voice, it'll be fine.
Paul,
You
Yes,
voice.
can you hear me?
I can.
All right, so first question was regarding membership, right?
Yeah.
One is dated, one is using March data, the other one is using February data.
We hired that many people between March and February.
Well, got 1831, and how many, on my sheet I have 1813, and on the sheet for the 16th, on the presentation to HITAP, it says 1813, both numbers are the same. So what number are you
Well,
referring
then I'll have to ask. I have to ask the question: why on the district's proposal that we got was it less than that?
It was less than that, because we adjusted it.
Yes,
So,
it was.
The
Now, this one says
1813
18.
full members Whereas if I'm not mistaken, it should be 16, what we have on ours, 1622,
Is exclude retirees.
would be those who would, the board contribution would be applied.
Excludes the retirees. That would exclude the retirees.
That, yeah, so that's the difference.
Well,
Did you hear all that, Paul?
why do we exclude the retirees?
For the board contribution.
No, I know they don't get a board contribution, but when you look into the money that goes into the fund to pay for premium, we should not exclude the retirees. So why would we?
So I think is he asking the 19,535,000, does that include the retiree contribution, premium contributions?
Is that what you're trying to get at, Paul?
That's part of it, yeah.
Where's this 1935 coming from?
19,535 is the total
Total premium.
premium.
On your proposal.
Yes, that would include retirees, yes.
Okay. So the number that we should be using to calculate this, to do our math here, should be 1813 and not 1622 or whatever we've been using.
So you want to exclude the premiums from the retirees and the calculations to determine the increase for the active employees?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm doing a very simple calculation here. I'm looking at the number that comes from all of the people paying in premium, whatever they're paying. That's the number that's referenced on your 416. That's Aon's number. And it has to include everybody, because that's money you have that pays for the premium.
All right, Paul, I think we may have found your answer. So you're looking at the column that has the premium number in it? Such as the one we just gave you?
Let me look to your the larger copy of the premium number exactly.
No, the one you just got that says the $10 increase.
Yes, that's what I'm looking at now.
You looking at the column in the middle where it says total premium, and down at the bottom it says 19,535,000?
I am.
And you're questioning why that number is different than the other sheets?
Well, I know why it's higher now. It's because we were doing our calculation based on a smaller universe. The numbers were excluding the retirees.
Okay, do you agree that that premium number calculation has to be based upon the premiums for that year?
For the 20 plan year?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, I do. Yeah.
And therefore, every time we change the premium amount, that number will change?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
That's the answer to why the numbers change. Every time we play around with the premium amount, that number changes.
Well, of course it does. Of course it does, but it isn't the number that was presented on 416. Okay, so we've learned two things today. We shouldn't be making our proposal, our calculations based on the number we've been making them.
Okay,
We
so
should
we go
be
back-
making them
go back
based
to
on
416.
1813. Between the month of February and March, we gained what? How many? Roughly 200 employees. So I want to find out where they came from, but that's a different number. I'm gonna back off now and look at this.
Well, let's
look at this
continue, sir. Let's get you the answers you need. If we look at the 16th, I'm assuming you're looking at page 4 where it says the amount needed is 19 million.
That's right.
75.
It's referenced on our proposal.
Well, let's go back to the 16th. You're talking about the 19,475,000 compared to the 19,535 on today's presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So you're saying, why is
I know
that
why
different?
it's different. I know why it's different. It's different because you're using a different number of people in the universe. That's increased, okay? Hence, you have more money there, okay? The number is larger. I believe in doing this, that we have to be starting from the same set of assumptions, the same baseline data. Now I'm finding that my baseline data wasn't any good and it wasn't accurate. So given that, we've been trying to respond to this, the funding illustration was presented on 4/16. Now we're getting a different set of data, okay? That I find disturbing. And I can understand it, but I want to know why we didn't have the correct data right along. But I'm not going to get, I don't want to get into a debate about the whys. Now that I know it's changed, I know what I'm working with.
Okay, well, let me ask one question. If on the 16th, you're looking at page 6 with the number of enrollees is 1622?
Page 6.
1,622 members?
22.
All right, and
Yes.
then on the sheet you have before you today, it shows 1831.
That's right.
If you turn to page 7, you'll see the retarees are 191. You add the two
About
numbers together,
191.
you get 1831.
Okay, so
Same number of people in the universe.
All right.
So in the numbers that we were using 1622, it was only active employees. We were not considering the retirees in any of those calculations.
You got to turn to page 7, and that's where your retirees are.
Yeah, I see them there.
If you add those numbers together, you get the 1813.
Don't patronize me. I understand where they're coming from now. The point is, in the numbers that I started off with, we were working with 1622. Now we're up to 1813. Okay, I have to redo the work I've done. Okay, that's it. I understand perfectly why it's different now.
Okay, and I think that was clarifying for everybody, right? So
I
it's
also
good
want
to
to
get
clarify
down.
one other thing. You guys said that our percentage using the 595 and the 55 was 5.9, and I see it as 6.25%.
I'm sorry, help me understand that. Can you share?
And unfortunately, I don't think it's that number, oh, I see where Paul had it as 5.9. I had it as 6.25, and I'm not 100% sure what the variance is. I apologize. So it's just, there might be, one of us might have a calculation, but we had it, I don't know if that was just, we're working from distance, but I saw originally our proposal was 6.25, not 5.9. So we were a lot closer.
Okay, so okay. All right, now, given, what, thank you, Ron. Thank you, Finance. Given what Paul just brought up and whatnot, do you need time to redo anything on your proposal?
Yeah.
Oh, what, Paul?
I just said, I'll take it as a matter of faith that the numbers that have been calculated here are correct, given the parameters that are there.
Okay, and so you do not, want any additional time to?
I don't particularly need to rework them now, no.
Okay, so I think, the working number that we're, trying to work with is all of the active enrollees plus our retirees in general. So maybe we should all remember that for, when we're talking about these groups going forward. That being said, do you have any comments or reaction to our new proposal?
What is it you're trying to do here that we didn't do, you think?
We're trying to.
And I'm only asking so when we caucus, we have a direction.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be
that's a great
argumentative.
question.
So,
We believe there should be a cost share, with employees and with the district. We believe that the district contribution, rightly needed to come up, and we believe that it's come up a good amount. We think that your proposal, while very close and good, we don't want to kick that can down the road. So we believe that this is a little stronger of a fiscally responsible proposal, given where we are and the crisis we're having nationally and whatnot. And I might ask that question back at you, right?
Exactly.
Yep, and that's a great question.
So I'm going to ask a question that's going to sound argumentative, and I swear I'm not trying.
It's fine, it's
All
fine.
right, we'll take it as such for the
I
record.
tend to be very sarcastic and things sort of fall out.
That's
so.
okay.
I'm curious, last time we talked, you asked us when the county, not you personally, when the county was going to live down the history.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we did that with this because we got one more year where we didn't get touched, even Stephen at that point, and we move on from there. I think, didn't we talk about our fund balance could handle a possible hit if we made a calculation error?
With a $5.3 million fund balance, we have millions of dollars to work with. And again, it is an issue. Yes, you're right, kicking the can down the road, but kicking the can down the road for 1% as opposed to 5% is a big difference. Taking the risk for a variance, whether it's 0.5% or 1 full percent, which is really where we are. The surplus in the fund can handle that. I am the president who presided over the largest single increase on insurance, and that was within my first 2 years of presidency. I never want to go there ever again. I am the thorn in everyone's side at the high-tech meetings. So I assure you, I am taking this increase very, very seriously. But having that surplus, the bottom line is, the safe harbor is the savings account that we are required to have. I don't even mind having a little more than the safe harbor, but having $2 million more than safe harbor is withholding our members, the health insurance members' money from them. As you said, we're facing some uncertain times, so out-of-pocket costs are possibly very much increasing. We had agreed to bonuses as opposed to salary increases because we knew that was, the uncertainty. The employees of Indian River County absorbed the lion's share of that big increase. And I don't doubt it. When they're talking actuarial numbers on the claims and for both medical and prescription, I have absolutely that the actuarial numbers on those, I know what they're talking about. It is the fixed costs that I have run the numbers, and I'll be honest with you, in 2016, I ran the numbers and I could not see how it was going to increase more than 28%. And I asked that question at high-tech meetings frequently, and I was right. This is a risk that we're willing to take, that 1/2 to 1%. And you know something? It gives you guys a little leverage in the next leg of negotiations going, where you guys can say you were right if I'm wrong. But I do strongly, strongly believe that with over $2 million more than we are required to keep in that health insurance fund, we can absorb that 1%. We really can.
And humble pie doesn't taste very good.
Pardon?
Humble pie doesn't actually taste very good. But the other thing too is we were also talking about how do we get even, and the county had owed us one more payment. So we did share the premium up more than once.
Well, and again, if this, there was
The
still
premium
one
increase,
more
that's
payment for the deficit and safe harbor. And again, this increase to the board contribution, we believe it, I mean, I know that was not a recurring cost, and this would be a recurring cost, and I do understand the dilemma that leaves you all in. I really, really do respect that, but, we have the recurring costs too, and that's the security in knowing that, we negotiated something, and I understand what you're talking about, cost share. We've done our cost share. We have, in the past, we have done more than our fair share. And what a level of, that change in the relationship, if for once we got to win one. I mean, I know what it is, you guys are being generous in increasing the board contribution. I'm not denying that. But, I do also think that we were being very open. Truthfully, when we first sat down to talk, 660 was not negotiable. We wanted to be equal with the county. But I get it. We're heading to uncertainty. We came down $65 per month. We did come down to that. I mean, we wanted to go, truthfully, we were asking for $600 4 years ago.
No, I hear you, I do, and, I've said this before and, at risk of sounding, flippant about it, I'm gonna say it badly, but you're gonna understand my intent, which is, hey, look, guys, that was 4 years ago, I mean, come on. With the 30% thing, and oh, by the way, there wasn't much of an increase, in prior years to that. I would also say we've been pretty conservative with increases. I mean, last year we had no increase, right? I don't know what it was the year before that, but it's been fairly conservative since then. And I think it's because of some of this partnership that, we've developed going forward here. Where I struggle is I've been in other employers where we didn't do increases for a while, not even de minimis ones. And all of a sudden, when we wanted to increase, $4 or $5, I mean, the sky was falling, everyone lost their minds, this kind of thing. I don't want us to get into the bad habit of presumptions that healthcare either goes down or can be saved through cost cutting. It doesn't work that way. It's almost like it's its own economic math, which makes no sense to those of us here on Earth.
No, I'm
but,
working on that, it's okay.
Yeah, healthcare, I remember back in the, 2000s, right? We had regularly, 10 to 30% increases on the premium year after year after year after year after year, okay? And then it modified, right? And it went, okay, 10, and now for the last, I don't know, Mary, you can maybe help me with that, 6, 8 years, it's hovered somewhere between 6, 7, 5, right? Yeah. Okay, and that's by the grace of God, in part. That's by, demographics, luck, employment, who knows? Could have been part of the Affordable Care Act, impacts and some of these, we don't know. But it is not unbelievable that we could have a world where we go back to that 10 to 30% a year increase. And if we don't have employees in the habit of even paying a few dollars of increases, that helps us keep our funds straight and keeps us in the right mentality with respect to healthcare. I'm concerned about that, because if we had a large increase by kicking the can down the road, everyone's going to lose their mind. So I'm concerned about that. And that's part of the reason that I tend to support the philosophy of even de minimis increases to continue that philosophy of cost sharing. That's one issue. But I hear what you're saying with respect to the other. Now, I would push back a little bit and say, those agreements that, were sort of muttered up on the dais and were in some vague memo to the county, right? I would not call those agreements. Those should have been MOUs. They should have been contract matters. That's a whole big question mark.
Well, we assume the district would
Honor it.
honor their word. And, you keep saying,
That's why
beat a dead horse,
contracts
beat
and
a dead
agreements
horse.
are important.
We want to end this also. we want to, we really came into this negotiation thinking that this was going to be it. We were ready to put it aside. I think that we came back with a good proposal. Liz and I and Paul and Jennifer have been working the numbers. I think Aon is predicting a little bit high, with their fixed costs. We want to move on. The cost sharing, we have taken the cost sharing. We have paid millions of dollars into this fund. And I think, and I understand totally that premiums do go up. But I would like to, to be compensated for what we were promised in the past. I don't think, we're asking for that much more than what we coming back on this, but we want to be done with it. We want to be done with this negotiation, with this insurance increase. This is it. And know that from this point on, there will be increases, and we're ready for that. But we just want pretty much what we were promised. And whether it was a paper that went across, but I mean these are all documented, public hearings, documented through the insurance commissions. All these promises from the school board for this fund, and the school board neglected to pay it all in. So that's all. That's what I'm saying.
And we didn't have, we barely had somebody sitting across the table from us, let alone somebody who would actually agree to anything. At that same impasse hearing, there was also a promise, because even the board at that time recognized that the board contribution needed to go up. There was an agreement by the district to pay for 1 year, $27 per employee per month, in addition to the board contribution of $540. So we were negotiating with people who didn't want to put things down as recurring costs and as promises, because they weren't willing to negotiate in good faith. We now have people who are willing to negotiate in good faith. As you said, it is all well and good to look back and say that promise wasn't just a little memo that was a letter to the Florida Office of Insurance Regulation. It wasn't just a random, it was a commitment by the CFO at the time to pay down that deficit and safe harbor. And there is significant evidence of the district's and the district at the time, and no one here was involved in this, but there was significant evidence that that deficit was caused by mismanagement by the district, not bringing forth the recommendations of the cost increases to the to negotiating, not changing over where people were being paid out of. There was significant mismanagement. And again, I think we all take our responsibility that we weren't providing the oversight within HITECH. We've changed all that. And now, because we changed that, now we have this surplus. I'm not saying let's work that down so we don't have any increases right now. I'm talking about the fact that making this change so that we can wear down that surplus a little. I do not believe it will knock out the 2 million. I don't think, unless we have some sort of extraordinarily huge increase in large claims, that's not the case. We also know that in the large claims that we're watching, one of which was an individual on COBRA who is no longer on our insurance plan. So that large claim will not be increasing. We're watching, and yes, there are a number of large claimants out there, and we are watching that. We are paying careful attention to this fund. And we are, like I said, I believe we're 1 to 1.5% difference in what we foresee as the premiums down the road. That's where and as far as the cost share, I understand what you're saying, but something, had we been on a level playing field for any of this time, you know what? You're right. There is a cost share. we haven't been on a level playing field. We have been down in the dirt for this whole time. And that, you know, we want somebody's raise or bonus or, you know, salary increases in some way to actually mean something and not get knocked out by their insurance. Because the raises we negotiated 4 years ago were decimated by the insurance. And to the point where, you know, I mean, there were people who left our district because of the insurance increase. There were people who had to, you know, really reconsider everything that they've done because of that insurance increase. So yeah, that's why we are so hell-bent on setting this right for a change. Make a raise actually count as a raise. In these past 5 years, we'd had the FRS tax, if you will. We've had the insurance, we've had the cost of living increases that our raises have not kept up with. Catch us break. That's where we're going with this. Just give us
So
that
are you
break.
telling me that $10 is that break?
It matters to us.
You want to know something? What a show of support for your employees. Yes, that would be that break.
That actually would be, first of all, I'm one of those people who didn't feel a raise for 3 years because of it, just so you know. I got raises, I just couldn't feel them. But with that said, I could then say, see, I told you so. They're willing to work with us. They have been talking to us. I can sell that. This is going to get, we're going to get hit. The answer is going to be, see, they're just going to do the same thing. I know it's only $10 to you, but that $10 decides whether I, you know, get to have steak tonight for dinner or not. Honestly, it matters to me.
Please stop talking about it.
That seems to be a requirement.
May I say
Just trying
something?
to like move a tiny bit.
Okay, somebody else have lunch.
Hello,
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
I would like to call a caucus immediately.
It works.
Yeah. Oh, please.
Please,
Dr.
of course,
Morris,
please.
make a comment.
By the way, I also want to make a note that this is the very first time in my negotiating career that we have had a superintendent at the table. So thank you.
That is crazy to me. So let me just say a couple things, I think, and then we'll allow you to caucus. I think this was really, really good for me to hear. And I just took the opportunity to listen. And as you caucus, I will go back and get some clarity on some of the things you said, because quite honestly, I don't have the clarity that I think that I should need regarding some of the specifics in which you shared. I will say this, I think we are on equal footing in terms of the amount of frustration in which you have lived and now I have adopted. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to anybody charged to do complex, challenging work. I don't. But I am very much looking forward to almost fast forwarding 2 years down the road where structures and systems, faith and trust have become the foundation of this system. It is not a system, it's a group of individuals who work together to be in service of children. The school system is us. And we will right-size salaries. And I'm going to say every opportunity that I have, I am very eager to get to the point in which we're right-sizing salary. And that, so it's like, you know, having to wait to negotiate what contracts and salaries will be, knowing what we're doing and looking and scrubbing budgets to identify, hey, how do we find every dollar we possibly can? Not to be accountable for what we value and make sure our funding goes to what we say we value. And currently, coming 6 months into a year, you can't completely shift or modify a budget, but very much looking forward to moving forward. I will say this, and then you will caucus. My biggest concern in understanding what was said and understanding a known unknown is to prepare ourselves for what will be a 10 to 20% reduction in our budget. Not next year. We got even additional verification that we're going to be okay for next year. But in that coming year, that 21-22 school year, to prepare for a 10 to 20% reduction. That is huge. That is salary, that is jobs. And I need to do my best to mitigate that unknown. And our opportunity to prepare ourselves for that is to look at every single expense that we approve that becomes legacy. And any expense that we go here and we're moving, we're significantly increasing, better prepares us for what is a known unknown. And that hope, and let's hope and pray that our ability to react to that doesn't need to be as severe as what we have planned for. And then we can celebrate those benefits then, but be prepared for the worst. So in this structure on this size, it's designing and saying, you know what, we will be an organization that honors its employees. That's just how we're going to function. We're going to be open. We're going to be honest. We're going to use the same numbers as we negotiate, so we don't have a bait and switch kind of scenario going on. But let's look at the here and now and do it absolutely as best that we possibly can, and prepare for and be ready for what is something that we know that's going to happen, but we don't know how severe in which it's going to happen. So the structure I think the team is following is very similar to what Liz is saying regarding the ability to burn it down, and our willingness to what we can contribute now versus and willing to contribute again next year over the course of 5 years, or 2 years, or 3 years, is the theory of action that we've applied. So we'll allow you to caucus. I have some answers that I would like to have provided to me, and then we'll circle back when you're ready.
Okay.
All right.
Can you text us?
Yep.
You want an other video? Do you want me to connect Zoom?
I'll do it from here.